Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to another episode of Zoom from Miles's room. If you are new to the show, Miles is my baby boy, and he's been kind enough to allow me to use his room during these quarantine times to turn it into a studio, which is what I've done. And the premise of this show is we interview cool people about interesting stuff, and my guest today is a very cool person, Brian Breach. How are you, bud? Good to see you.
Good, man. How you doing? How is everything during this quarantine?
It's all right. It's kind of a mixed bag. It's been weird not leaving the house very much, but I have a baby boy and I'm spending all kinds of time with him,
Right.
which has been really cool.
Right.
Yeah, how
Well,
about
you're
for you?
spending time with your baby boy. I'm spending time with my girlfriend.
I didn't want to ask. You know what? No judgment.
I've used this twice for a social experiment and a couple skits. And every time I do a podcast, I always keep it in the background for a conversation piece.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder how to bring this up. Did I interrupt a moment? Man, whatever. Well, it's good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Of course. So what we're going to do is we do every day. We do this show, guys. We got it up on Facebook Live right now. So if you have questions for Brian, all you got to do is fire away, and I'll be able to get them to him. He is, in no particular order and off the top of my head, he's a content creator. He's an influencer. He's a social media superstar. He gave a great TEDx talk, which, by the way, was the first time you ever gave a speech in public, which is insane. He's a hip hop artist, and he's created a new show. Am I leaving anything out? What am I leaving out?
A lotto winner. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums me up. Yes. I'm a man of many hats, both figuratively and literally. Yeah.
Will you be changing hats throughout the show? That would be a cool bit.
That'd be funny. I got 7. Yeah.
Okay, like for every time you talk about a different part of your life, it's just a new hat. Yeah.
Right.
So as we were saying, if you're catching us on Facebook Live, by the way, thank you for doing so. Just feel free to ask any questions, and we'll get to them as we do this. We've been getting great questions the last few days. So it's by the way, the first question already came in. Who's the guest behind him? And then it said his girlfriend. So see that?
It's funny since I've gone viral, I started speaking around the country on how to go viral. And the number one thing I tell people is that you want to plant Easter eggs in your videos. And this would be an example of an Easter egg to add something to your video without actually, directing the comments towards it. That'll cause people to ask about it or wonder or start arguing in the comment section. And look, the first comment is about the girl in the background. So that's why you plant these little Easter eggs in your videos, just like you have a picture of your baby boy in the background. It's going to entice somebody to comment about that, boost us up in the algorithms, blow up the post. So little strategies.
I'm actually thrilled that you started off by talking about this, because this is super interesting and this is great information. I'm so glad to have you here for this, because this is what people want to know, including me. By the way, I'm not as creative as you think I am. This was just because I thought it looked nice and was fun. Didn't know that it was going to boost an algorithm.
It's an amazing. It's a great piece on the wall, and it would spark people to talk about it, because that is the cutest picture that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude. Maybe he'll make an appearance. Sometimes he makes appearances on these shows. All right, but let's go back to this. This is such great info. So talk to me about, some ways to go viral. If you want to expand on what you just said about the Easter egg, cool. But if there's a couple of other ways, because all of us out here creating content, we post what we think is a really awesome, captivating piece on Instagram or Facebook and expect it to blow up and nothing. And then sometimes a throwaway post about a picture of a sunset blows up. How? Why?
It's totally bizarre. So I have a little theory about it, and I feel like, you're going to get many posts that go viral. Somebody fighting at a party, someone throws up in a pool. Of course, they're going to go viral. There's going to be a lot of fights. There's going to be, things of that nature that go viral. But what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of things go viral by strategy, by marketing, by cross-promoting on multiple platforms. So there's different ways to go viral. So the things I say about going viral, it's not a guaranteed solution to going viral, but what it will do is it'll give you a better shot. It'll give you a more likelihood of getting more views and comments. The first thing you could very simply start with, I'm not saying this is going to take your video viral, but it's definitely going to cause hundreds of more comments. And I learned this throughout the times of posting on Instagram, is the way you word your caption. So for example, I see a lot of girls, guys, whoever, and they'll post a lot of selfies, they'll post a lot of beach pictures, and same thing over and over, and you'll start seeing minimizing of the comments. 10 pictures ago they had 100, now they're down to 20. It's because it's the same crap over and over. But what if you go to a beach and you simply say, hey, I'm over here at Miami Beach right now, what are you guys doing right now? Just that little twist of the caption and asking a question and engaging your audience will literally cause 50, 80, 100, 125 more comments that would not have came if you just said, me at the beach taking a selfie. You know what I mean? So you want to word your, this is a very small thing, but you want to word all your captions in the correct way. Ask questions. I remember I posted some kind of, it was a meme when I used to do a lot of filler posts on Instagram, and I posted a picture of an empty bench, and I wrote, if you could bring one person back to life, who would it be? And what would you talk to them about on this bench? And I got probably the most comments I remember ever getting during that period of time. Had I just posted saying, what a great shot of an empty bench, how many comments do you think I would have got?
Right. It's a great point. By the way, who would be the person that you'd bring back and have on the bench with you?
Great question. So it's funny. After I remember that specific post, because after I wrote the caption, I actually went ahead and told people who I would bring back. And the reason I said that, because that brings a whole nother reason for people to comment. So people will comment about who they're going to bring back, but they're also going to be like, oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's such a, and they're going to comment on my answer. So the more things you kind of add in the caption. But anyway, who I would bring back is actually my great grandfather, Joseph Hyman. He told me the story about how he escaped from the Holocaust. He wasn't in it, but they were coming to get him. I think he defected from the Russian army. They were committing atrocities at the time. He fled through the back door, told me he went through the woods, and the rest of his family was killed in the Holocaust. He told me they decapitated his brother. And he was such a great man. Out of all the family members I've ever had, he was probably the sweetest man. And if I could talk to one person, I bring him back, make him younger so I can hear these incredible stories.
And that's really powerful, man. Wow. You were probably pretty young, I guess, when he told you this, and you have a much different perspective on life now, right?
Right. Surprisingly, he actually was born in 1898 and he lived to 2002. So I was 22 at the time, but he made it, if you think about it, in a sense, through 3 centuries, the 1800s, 1900, and then he made it to 2002. I mean, that is a feat that's unbelievable. If any of us even get to 85, we are blessed to have lived such a long life.
Yeah, that's truly remarkable. What a great and powerful answer. But I think that is so fascinating that something as simple as throwing it out to the audience can be a game changer. I'm curious, what's your relationship with social media like? And the reason I ask is because I'll be honest with you, I've never loved social media. I don't love it. To me, I do it. I think it's a good way to communicate, and I'm thrilled that we're doing this on social media. This I love. But to go on at 2 p.m. and go, hey, look at this, I just bought a new pair of flip-flops. I've never enjoyed that. So because I interviewed Chris Van Vliet last week, Chris. He's also prolific at social media. And he's always like coming up with cool new ways to game the system, and you're the same. So do you like it? Do you look at social media as a challenge? How can I beat this matrix kind of thing?
So I look at it in 2 different ways. So from the side of, it's weird to me. Let's say I never posted a thing in my life, right? Social media to me is almost like one big friend. So after a long day, it's almost enjoyable to me to sit. I have my own algorithm on social media where I check certain things first. So I'll go to my Instagram, then I'll check my DMs, then I'll look at who saw my stories, then I'll see what happened, if any of my posts are blowing up on TikTok. Twitter, not so much. And I'll see what everyone's going crazy on Facebook today. And it's kind of like this rhythm that I have in my life. And it's like a slight comfort. It's almost like, it's so weird. It's almost like a friend being there at the end of the day for you. But aside from that, what do I like about social media? I think it has its benefit. I think it has its pros and cons, to be honest with you. I think the biggest pro, obviously, is that it is so amazing that you can reach out to almost anybody. The blue check mark helps even more, but in this day and age, it's not like before where you have to corner someone accidentally in a restaurant. You can literally send a DM in the right way and you're going to get a reply from a big name. I've seen young guys that are literally 15 years old starting a new podcast that can send a DM in such a respectful way and get messages back from big names like a Grant Cardone or Gary Vee or
Gary
something like
Vaynerchuk.
that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So it's such an amazing time we live in. The cons of it would be, things aren't always popping on there, and you tend to spend a lot more time than you should. There's an app on your phone or something built in the phone now, or when I updated my iOS, where it actually shows the amount of time you're on social media. And I literally avoided looking at it because I don't want to look at it. And one day I did, and I'm like, bullshit that I spent that much hours on Facebook today. I'm like, what am I doing? But every day I get opportunities off social media, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so grateful for Instagram. And I was so hesitant to get on Instagram at the beginning, and I was so hesitant to get on TikTok. I literally told my boy, who was like, you need to get on Instagram. It's a new thing. I was like, come on, bro. MySpace, there's Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. I'm like, enough is enough already. And thank God that he convinced me to get on Instagram and blow it up and then get verified, because all that stuff has got me, I'd say 98% of every opportunity that I've gotten this year or the last year has came off Instagram.
Well, the good thing for you is, your girlfriend doesn't talk very much behind you, so it's not like you
She's
have
a
to
dummy.
Hey-o.
Bad joke.
Very nice. Okay, let's reset for the people just tuning in now. Brian Breach is joining us. He was just giving some great information. So if you missed it, make sure you watch the episode again later. Great info on the importance of being diligent on social, being creative on social, how to go viral on social. He practices what he preaches. How many followers do you have on the various platforms?
I think I'm at 104,000 now on Instagram, and I'm verified on there. Facebook, I got verified on TikTok. One video that went viral on TikTok got me to 17,000 followers, and I just got on there. Twitter, I'm at like 40,000 or something like that. But Instagram to me is like the main one.
Wow. So again, this guy's an expert. If you're posting and you want some good strategic advice, just fire away on Facebook, ask some questions, and we'll get them to Brian. And I think you make a great point, because look, I just said earlier, I don't particularly love social media, but the point is, forget fun. You can make a lot of money by doing this. You are building a really successful career. You just said it, because of social. So it's not just the kind of thing where you're doing because you feel like you have to do. There are people making six-figure incomes by being influencers and taking pictures of ridiculous stuff. So look, you might as well join the party, right?
You might as well. And, in this day and age, honestly, there's very few businesses that can live without social media. There's a couple where you could survive, with this day and age, even, no matter what business you do, you have to be on social media. It's so important. There are restaurants that I go into that don't have Wi-Fi, and it baffles me, because I'm like, do you realize if you have Wi-Fi, it allows people to post your restaurant, geotag you, hashtag you, and then your restaurant racks up thousands of pictures in what I call like a photo bucket. It just keeps going, and it just shows people what's going on. You could post on your stories from restaurants. I would always encourage every restaurant on planet Earth, if we ever get back into restaurants because of the pandemic, to have Wi-Fi so people could do that. But almost every business in this day and age needs a social media page. Everybody.
Yeah, so the older folk like us, the curmudgeonly older folk who are resisting the social media moment, get with the times, people. That's the point of the story. Let's talk about your TED Talk. And I did not know this until we spoke last week on the phone, and I would love for you to talk about this. That even though you'd been a performer as a kid, in terms of public speaking, giving a speech, you made your debut as a public speaker giving a TED Talk. You took arguably like the most stressful opportunity and said, no, you know what, I should do this.
It was crazy, because when I was on stage performing hip hop, like, you can stop, you can spit on the crowd if you want to, nothing has to be verbatim. You could take a breath, you could take a drink of water. They wouldn't even let me with water on the stage. So, I'll give you the long story short. And I like to tell people about the story because I truly believe in taking opportunity before you even know that you have the ability to do it. And I can't even stress how important that is. You have to take an opportunity even if you don't think you can do it, because you're going to miss out on opportunities. And the whole story of how I even got the TED Talk was a series of odd events. And I like to call it 2 girls and 1 coffee table. I was calling it 2 girls and 1 couch. It's funny. It's so silly. But I was calling it Two Girls and One Couch, and I kept telling the story that way until my boy's like, it wasn't a couch, it was a coffee table. I'm like, oh, damn it. But same concept. So long story short, it came about because one of my best friends asked me to help him move. I hate helping people move, but he's my boy. I'm going to do it. So I go over there. I'm busting my butt. I got dirt all over my face. I'm exhausted. And then in the middle of moving, after hours, he's like, do you mind driving with me 40 minutes up to Cooper City from where we were off Sample, I believe, to go pick up a coffee table from my brother's house? I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, I got to now drive 40 minutes to go get one coffee table. So anyway, I do it, and we get to his brother's house. There's a cute girl there, and they're all talking about how they're going to have a little barbecue or get together later on. We should come back. And I said, I don't know if I'm at time. I'm dirty, blah, blah, blah. They said, just come back. We go drop off this coffee table, and I get a text from these girls, come back, come back. When I get there, I was very hesitant about going in because I like to be presentable where I go, and I had dirt all me, but I went in anyway. The girl who I originally went back for, the cute girl, was gone. She just left. And I'm like, damn it. But another girl was there. That girl was somebody that used to date one of my good friends. And she brings up the subject that, yo, you've been doing a lot of social media, Brian. You probably got a great story to tell. I'm working at this hospital where they're auditioning or they're allowing people to submit to do a TEDx talk. And I'm like, oh, crap. Because I heard a TED talk, but I didn't realize how big it was. Well, maybe I did a little bit, but I realized even more so after. So I went home. I hadn't made a PowerPoint in 15 years or more. I hadn't made a resume in literally over a decade, but you don't worry about these things. You just figure it out. I went on Fiverr.com, made my resume. I went on YouTube, and I sat there for hours figuring out how to do PowerPoint. Now, it's not the most hardest thing, but you got to relearn. You still got to learn the ins and outs. So I made a PowerPoint. I made my resume. I submitted it, and I was chosen out of 62 people. There was 11 of us chosen out of 62. And then we went on to practice once a week for, I believe, 7 weeks it was, or something like that, 6 or 7 weeks. And it was the most incredible experience. I still keep in touch with all of them. And then luckily, I got asked to be a judge on the ones you guys were on, which was super cool that they even cared to include me in a little bit of the process, at least. So yeah, it was such an awesome experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I was beyond nervous. I have a problem apparently with being nervous in my saliva. And when I start getting nervous, I have zero saliva in my mouth. So right before I went on stage, I was rotating spray lubricant in my throat, Luden's cough drops, and water simultaneously. When the host is like, what are you doing? I was like, my mouth's going to go dry. I have to do this or it's not going to work. 5 minutes into it, I had no saliva in my mouth. And while I was on stage, all I heard, and I swear to God, for like 7 minutes, all I heard was, that's what I thought I was sounding like. And I literally was going to like cry when I got off stage. But then when I heard it back, it wasn't so bad. You know what I mean?
It's a surreal experience, isn't it? Because for mine, I went last, and I approached that day. What number did you go?
I was somewhere like 7-ish, 6 or 7-ish.
So there's a lot of people that go before you, and I'm curious your take. I'm sitting there at the start of the day. I'm like, this is cake. Whatever, it's fine. I'm a public speaking coach. This is fine. I have a good TED talk. I'm fine. And then you see the first few, and on our day when we did it, we had I think we had 11 people also, maybe 10 or 11. Everybody's best performance from all the rehearsals was that day. So that was like everybody was stepping up. On one hand, you're like, okay, that's really cool. You're feeding off the energy. But then on the other hand, you're like, oh man, I guess I better step up too. Everybody else is. So as we started getting closer to it, I'm like, why am I nervous? Why am I suddenly terrified? Because, it's a TED Talk, right? I mean, and I had given hundreds of speeches. You, not so much.
Right. And it was very nerve-wracking. Here's the even crazier part. So not only did I do a TED Talk that day, but for 7 weeks, I also practiced that. They asked me to do, I think it's the first ever spoken word to open up the whole TED event. So I had to practice. So they wanted me to rap. And at first I was like, I don't want to rap to open a TED event. That's going to look weird. And I was like, let me do it more poetic and stuff like that. So I had double duty. So every time we did a rehearsal, I had to perform the spoken word for a minute of how to open up the whole talk. And then I gave my talk. But when I opened up the whole thing, their audio went out. So I'm literally, there's no microphone, there's no audio to the whole thing when I'm rapping, and the audio went out. And there was another crazy series of events after the whole thing. So they submitted the TEDx talks to the main TED site, and there was some copywritten music within the video. So TED wasn't going to upload them. And my whole goal here was to get it on the TED site with 11 million followers. And if that didn't happen, I would be so pissed. I would have considered it as like a loss. So long story short, the city of Hollywood was going to do the editing after they denied all the TED Talks, and I volunteered to do it myself. So believe it or not, that gave me an opportunity to pull my dad's audio off his cell phone and sync it with the correct audio of when I was rapping and the mic cut out. So I'm probably the only person in TED history, I think, this is a made up thing, but I think I'm the only person in TED history to be able to edit his own audio on his own TED Talk to make sure all the sounds were correct. And I brought up the audience levels because you couldn't hear it. And I cut out all my weird breathing sounds. Maybe I shouldn't admit that, but it was such a cool experience. Yeah. But I got to sit there and play with my own audio, and it was so great. And then we submitted it, and thank God they uploaded, and all our videos got selected to go on the TED site.
I love that you had post-production control of your TED Talk, which never happens. All right, so my boy's gonna make his obligatory appearance. It's his show.
Oh yeah.
So here he is.
What's his name?
Miles.
What's up, Miles? You're gonna go many miles in this life, buddy.
Yeah, he's a little superstar. I don't know if you can see, but I have a little a gift that's a giant baseball with his name on it. So hopefully he'll be on the pitcher's mound in a few years. But he wants to do a TED Talk also, so he's really riveted with.
He certainly will. Well, he got the right father to give him advice on how to speak.
I appreciate that. So I want to ask you one more question about your TED Talk, because I really get that question a lot when I coach people about public speaking. A common question is, hey, can you help me write a TED Talk? I mean, obviously it's an aspirational goal for a lot of people. My TED Talk was deeply personal. Yours also deeply personal. When you decided you were going to do it and you went home and you did your resume and your YouTube, well, that's all well and good, but you need a topic, right?
Yes.
All of the fancy PowerPoint in the world is not going to help you if you don't have a compelling topic.
Right.
And by the way, when we're done here today, let's give everyone the information so they can go watch your TED Talk. It's really such a great talk.
Thank you.
Take me through the process of you deciding what you wanted to talk about.
Man, you were the first person that has ever asked me that question.
Really?
You're the first person, and I've talked about my TED Talk a million times on different podcasts. I've never been asked that question. That's a great question. What was my process? I think the night that her name was Kelly, she brought it up to me. I believe we kind of brainstormed a little bit. I think she asked me that night, if I'm not mistaken, what would you talk about? So I started kind of brainstorming on, what I've been through, and I've done this and I've done that. And then it kind of struck me that my whole entire story is comprised of a lot of failures. My whole story was comprised of not working a 9-to-5 the last 10 years and just keep, failing until finally I found some kind of success. And I remember sitting in my bed thinking that I want to get personal because I finally want to tell my story, since it's going to be seen to a lot of people and be real about it, but I have to incorporate some kind of comedy in there. So, I'm putting these jokes in there, and I just remember is this going to work? Is that going to work? And thank God we had everybody to give guidance when we were practicing together. So that helped a lot. But I think out of all the stories, I think I put everything together into one, and then kind of came up with how to survive without a job through failure. And I wanted to put the word failure in there. And I also remember going on YouTube and seeing what the common thread was as far as topics. Like if I put in that word, surviving with failure, I remember I switched it around 10 different times. I wanted to be unique and not do the same thing everyone else did. So I was trying to pick a title also based on what other people hadn't done before. And I know TED is pretty good with strategically picking people that haven't done the same topics a lot, but I wanted to word it the right way on YouTube as well, so it got the most clicks. So I had them change that a couple times.
Yeah, that's. I mean, again, that's all part of what we've been talking about for the past half hour, right? Is just
right.
understanding how to use social media to your benefit,
Right.
which you've been masterful. And again, before we say goodbye, we're going to tell people how to find your TED Talk. It's worth watching. It's inspirational. It's cool. I love how you started it. You know, I'm when I coach people on giving speeches, I always talk about how important the beginning is, and you want to come out, you want to grab people right away, and you know, your first line just grabs people, and it's great. Babe, you turned off the light. My wife just turned off the light. Maybe she's trying to tell me something. I don't.
She's like, enough of this guy, bro.
Yeah, this show's over. I've had it. Hey, it's live. Now you know it's live. If you ever questioned that before. Let's talk about what you're doing now, what your new project is. It's really fun. Tell everybody about it.
Thank you. So yeah, right before the pandemic hit and, you know, everyone had to stay indoors, we were working on a show that I came up with because I had shot something that went viral. And I've always been big in the mindset that, you know, even when I was doing hip hop, I was thinking like, you know, we don't need to wait for people to book us on these bigger shows. Why don't we book ourselves? And why don't we book the bigger hip hop act and open up for them? So I thought the same concept with the show. Like, why am I going to wait for people to keep booking me on stuff? Let me just make my own show. You know, I don't like waiting for people, you know? So anyway, so I came up with a concept, and I was trying to think of how to base it around going viral. So I came up with an idea called America's Gone Viral. And what it is it's a viral competition show for up and coming content creators. And what it is, it's because everybody's shooting content. You got 90-year-old grandmothers blowing up on TikTok now, especially being indoors. And this is going to show the behind the scenes on how viral content's made. So I'm going to choose 3 different contestants. They're going to be different types of teams. One could be a family team of content creators, up and coming. They got to have like under 10,000 followers. I don't want them to be blown up yet. I want this to be something they're passionate about and something they want to make a career out of. And maybe one team's going to be a girlfriend, boyfriend. Maybe one team's 2 brothers, 2 sisters, whatever. And we're going to issue them viral challenges. And what I was thinking about was all the things that I did in order to go viral in the year that I was pushing for these skits. So I started off with skits. I never even thought about pranks or social experiments. And then probably a couple months into it, I'm like, why don't I try pranks now? Why don't I try social experiments? I kept doing different things to see what worked and what people liked the most. So we're going to issue them challenges every week. One week it'll be a skit. One week it'll be a prank. One week it'll be a social experiment. And mind you, you'll never run out of content. You could shoot content for the rest of your life. It's a never-ending topic of what you could shoot. So they're going to go out and shoot it. The skits will be done in the studio. The social experiments be done out and about if things get back to normal. And we're going to show the behind the scenes on how content's made. We're going to show the creative part. We're going to show them brainstorming. We're going to give them extras so they can use extras in their skits, and they're going to shoot it. They're going to present it to the judges. We already have 3 influencer judges with a combined total of 11 million followers between the 3: Supreme Patty, Francetti, and Antonio Skits, who is on Wild 'N Out. And they're going to present their work and their content, whatever the challenge was, to the judge. They're going to rate them, and then we're going to put it on a centralized YouTube channel where we're going to see who gets the most likes, views, and comments. And whoever gets the most likes, views, and comments, in a sense, goes viral. We'll move on to the next round until they win the competition. And the winner will get 20 grand, 50 grand, or get to work with one of our famous content creators, you know, one of the influencers. So that's the basic concept of the show.
So fun. It sounds awesome. Are you at the point yet where you're accepting submissions or not yet? And the only reason I ask is because I'm sure people watching right now are like, I want to be on this thing.
Right. You know, where this whole pandemic changed everything. So the whole thing what we're going to do was we're going to have live auditions. We were going to throw a launch party for the show, have live auditions in the show. We were going to let them tell their story, but then we were going to issue them like an on-the-spot challenge that they didn't even know we were going to do and see who's the ballsiest, right? So we can, you know, accept them on the show. But now, with everything going on, I just want to get a sizzle reel shot and first episode shot. So I kind of want to skip the audition phase and just kind of pick people. But yes, we're going to have auditions. We had a meeting about it yesterday at the movie studios. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do. But follow America's Gone Viral on Instagram, and you'll see all the updates for when we figure that part out now. Everything had to change a little bit because of this freaking Corona thing.
Of course. All right, America's Gone Viral on Instagram. What else? Where else are we sending people to find all your stuff?
Mainly MySpace, really. No, you can find me on Instagram mainly, Brian Breach. You know, my Facebook, Brian Breach 03, YouTube, Brian Breach 03, Twitter, Brian_Breach, but mainly Instagram these days. A straight old Brian Breach.
Before we say goodbye, I would love to. I have two questions for you. One,
Yes.
who's the greatest hip hop artist of all time? Yourself excluded. And two, what was one of your favorite pranks that you did on social media?
Right. So to me, one of my favorite personal hip hop artists of all time was Big Pun. Big Pun was ridiculous. His wordplay was unbelievable. A lot of people remember Big Pun for his for his bigger commercial song, I don't want to be a player no more. And a lot of people remember that, but he was one of the first Latin artists to go platinum. And they had a big movement, him and the Terror Squad. And Big Pun to me was so technically lyrical. He spit the machine gun rap and in the middle of little, and it was so amazing to me. So that was my favorite artist. And one of my favorite things I shot that went viral, there's two. Number one was the mall experiment we did where I pretended to be famous at Sawgrass Mall. I hired fake bodyguards, fake paparazzi. I hired fake actors in the background to pretend that I was a super famous guy. And hundreds of people stopped me, took pictures, signed autographs, told me I'm their favorite actor of all time, all because I just had two girls say, "Oh my God, it's Brian Breach." That's simple. That's all it took.
Wait, so people actually said to you, "You're my favorite actor of all time"?
I had at least 7 said, "Oh my God, you're my favorite actor of all." Bro, it was the most bizarre thing. I was escorted out of the mall by security because we were at Justin Bieber level of craziness, you know? Yeah. And then my favorite one, because it went super viral on the news, was the one where I pretended to be homeless and I held up a sign saying, "Please help my family for the holidays," in front of the Target in front of near Broward Mall. And anyone that offered help to me and was a great human being, I gave them $100 bill in return. And I ended up handing out $500 that day. And I got great responses. People were crying, and that made Channel 7 News. And then that got picked up by CNN, Fox, MSNBC, Yahoo, the Herald, Inside Edition. And it was a crazy 5 days after that happened. I mean, it was bizarre. It went super duper viral. And between that and the TEDx talk, that's what's gotten me. I would say if I had to, handpick a moment that got me all the opportunities I've gotten the last year, it was the TEDx talk and that thing going viral. It was like the perfect storm within a few months.
I'm so proud of you, man. I'm so happy for you. It's just so cool. It's so inspiring to hear that. That's, not to put too fine a point on it, but that's why I built this show, because I just want people to just be inspired, and your story is so inspiring. I'm so glad that you joined us today. I know people are going to follow you. If people hit you up for questions, I'm sure they will. Just be prepared to get a lot of questions, because I'm sure that you will. So, dude, thanks so much for being on, and I apologize to your girlfriend for keeping you as long as I have, but she seems okay.
Me and her are going to have a long talk. Well, she's going to listen.
Yeah, right. Dude, good to see you. I'll see you again in real life, hopefully soon. And
absolutely.
And thanks again, brother. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I appreciate you.
Of course. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We got one more episode this week, 4 p.m. tomorrow. Heather Monahan is going to join us. She's been a good friend of mine for years. She goes by the name The Boss in Heels. She's going to talk about how getting fired was the best thing to happen to her. She has a TED Talk as well, so she'll talk about that. She's written books. She's an inspirational speaker. She's awesome. You'll love her. That's tomorrow. Brian, you the man. See you soon, bud.